So after long last, here is the finished narrow log cabin quilt coat. So I'm really, really happy with how it came out. I love the graphic design in the back. It's just so beautiful. So I wanted to point out things about the coat. First thing we can talk about is the pockets. I typically liked to line my pockets up so they were sort of invisible along the fronts of the coats. That did not work out in this case. I offset the pockets slightly so they're not perfectly blended in with the log cabin pattern, but I do like the offset. So honestly, the hardest part of this whole process was the cleaning of the quilt. The original quilt, although on camera it looks really, really vibrant, it was actually really dirty. So there was the issue of the bright blue and bright red logs and the contrast with the yellow and white. And my biggest fear was that the red and blue would bleed onto the yellow and white, and it did. However, I was able to eliminate the bleed, but I did lose a considerable amount of color in the logs, and you can sort of see the contrast here. I'm a little bit sad about this, but at the same time, I really do love how it faded. So while it would have been super great to have kept the blue and the red, that was not going to happen. Those are colors that bleed, so it was going to bleed one way or another. I am just thankful that the whites and the yellows stayed true. So another one of the difficult things about putting this quilt coat together was restitching the logs to make them more stable. The red and the blue logs were considerably loose. I did stitch a good portion down by hand, but then I realized that it would just take me incredibly long to do it all by hand. So I ended up stitching some by machine, and I'm okay with that because, you know, I stitched them within the ditch so that the threads would sort of blend in, and I think it remained true to the original quilt. So as you can see from this video, from start to finish, from picking the quilt, cutting and serging the quilt, mending the quilt, the sewing is actually the easiest and least time consuming of all the work that goes into it. So I hope if you have a quilt that you're interested in making into a quilt coat, remember that. So if your quilt is in fairly good shape, you should be able to cut and sew it really, really easily. Do not be afraid to sew your own quilt coat. It can be done. So I hope you're inspired to make your own quilt coat after watching this video. If you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and share it with a friend or two. I want to see more quilt coats out there getting the love they deserve.